welcome everybody. So excited to be with you for our final coffee conversation, which is really exciting. If you're following us in our Reiki Cafe community Facebook group, you know why this is our final coffee conversation. But we are so excited to be fully transforming into a new shamanic institute opening on Thursday, August 8th. And you guys are all invited to our Lionsgate portal celebration and the grand opening of that shamanic institute that Reiki Cafe University is transforming into. If you want all the details on that, find us over in our Reiki Cafe community Facebook group, or be sure to watch your email today, where we're sending out an email with more information. But in the meantime, welcome to today's coffee conversation. We are going to be diving into honoring and reflecting on our time as Reiki Cafe University and sharing some of our favorite memories, the things that we've learned, what we're taking from Reiki Cafe and bringing into this new project and this new institute, and really how we've grown together as a team and just really honoring the energy and the entity that Reiki Cafe University was, and how much joy and education and inspiration it brought into the community. Why don't we go ahead and start off today's show with 3 deep breaths? So, wherever you're watching from, we encourage you to join with us in this, maybe bringing your hands to Gasho, letting your eyes close, just taking a moment to become aware of yourself in this present moment. Letting all of those thoughts or expectations or energetic strands just fade away, bringing your awareness fully back to your body, back to your breath, maybe even tuning in to your heartbeat in this moment, letting that gentle thump bring you back into this present moment, reminding us of Mother Earth's heartbeat, of our connection to nature, that life force that's pumping, keeping us alive and breathing and connected in every moment. And let's just start with our 3 deep breaths together. So breathing in through your nose, exhaling through your mouth, releasing and letting go of anything you're holding on to. And again, in through your nose, breathing in that love and light, and exhale, releasing any tension you've picked up this morning. And one more, in through your nose, out through your mouth. And before you open your eyes, maybe even taking a moment to call in your spirit team, your spirit guide, your power animal, any other love and light entities or ancestors that want to be with you today. Perhaps even calling on the east, south, west, and north, above and below, your higher self to be with us, to create a sacred space for this conversation and for all that is to come, to allow our energy to be uplifted and inspired by each other this morning, and to know that we are connected as a community. And let's seal all of that in with one more big, deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Bringing in that gratitude for this time and this space as we open our eyes and come back into the present moment, feeling a little more centered, a little more grounded, a little more present.
Thank you so
Beautiful.
much for that, Isabel. Like, I feel like if I can make it through today's coffee conversation without tears, that'll be amazing. And really, because today's coffee conversation is focused on saying goodbye to Reiki Cafe University, and this has been my baby for over a decade. And we have had Reiki Cafe community online since 2016. And prior to that, I had a Reiki Cafe local Bozeman shop up through 2019. So it has been very much my heart and soul and everything that I've given to it for so many years. And so this is going to be a big moment for me to let this aspect of who I am and what I've done for all of these years, letting it go as I step into something even greater. And what I'm hoping your takeaway is that this is inspiring to you. Like, if you have outgrown all of the different paths that you walked on, it's okay to outgrow things and shed skin and step into a higher light. And that's all right. And so I've already had people say that, wow, I can't believe you're doing this. And what an inspiration. Like, just because we've created something doesn't mean we need to be married to it forever. And this is one of those moments of transformation for myself, for my company, for Isabel, Chantel, and myself as we've grown the company. So I just wanted to put that out there. Like, this hasn't been a light decision, and it absolutely is meant to be. And I'm so grateful for the courage and the strength to do the work that we've done over the last 6 months to prepare for today.
And I think that's such a beautiful way to start this conversation because like you said, this is something that's been a huge part of people's lives for almost a decade, right? We've been almost entirely online for close to 5 to 6 years now, and we've have students from all over the world, but even before that, it was your in-person practice in your school, and it's grown so much. And what I love about it is that trajectory of when you started Reiki Cafe University, because we've had conversations about this, and you had this vision for it, right? You knew what you wanted it to be, what you wanted it to feel like. And I think what I love most about this process of transition and transformation is that Reiki Cafe University became what it was meant to be. You fulfilled that purpose, you had that vision come into reality. And it's that really beautiful space and manifestation that I don't think gets mentioned very often of once you manifest it, then what? And so I think you're in this really beautiful space of it was exactly what it was meant to be, and it was amazing, and it inspired and educated so many people, and it fulfilled its purpose. It served its time, and it's time for it to become something new, and that is such a beautiful transition that I think it does take us through all the chakras in a way, because you do have that identity shift in your solar plexus. It's going to shift our foundation of what we know about the school, but you've also got that, that grief and a little bit of that loss in heart chakra for letting go of this thing that has been so close to you for so many years. So I'm excited to see, oh, it's 11:11 my time as I'm saying this. I'm excited to see how everything unfolds with this conversation because I think there's a lot of really beautiful wisdom and backstory to what Reiki Cafe University was and became that maybe people aren't as aware of.
Yes. And so with that, I would love to share where the inspiration originally came from. And I've had this question over the years because Reiki Cafe, the cafe part, it's like, where's the cafe? And originally I envisioned Reiki Cafe as being a healing center with a cafe in it, meaning someplace that you get organic teas and coffees and a place to share, and it being a very energetic, connected, networking space where you could have classes and workshops as well as drinking your coffee and tea, right? So I really had the vision of having these in-person spaces where you could go into a breakout room to have Reiki sessions done, as well as sit and play with your oracle decks while you drink your coffee. And it was very much the vision of Reiki Cafe was really an in-person project. That was the original vision of like, okay, I'm going to build this so I can have a cafe with it. And when I moved online, when we first started opening Reiki Cafe community on Facebook, that was back in 2016. And it was just a baby. It was meant for just my Reiki students. And so I live in Bozeman, Montana. And at the time, it was a very small town in my mind. It was about 35,000 people when I was starting my Reiki practice. And I really wanted a space and place where all of my Reiki students could find me and connect with me, no matter where they were in their lives and in the world. And so when I brought it online, it really at the beginning was only meant for my students. And I probably had maybe 100 students at the time. Now I have, in Bozeman alone, there's over 300, 400, 500 students here that I've taught. And with that, it was very much, I recognized as soon as I started a support group space online that there were so many students around the world that needed the support that I could offer. And that was the transition point. There was, okay, I'm having this in-person business, this Reiki Cafe Bozeman location. And also like, okay, let's just dabble online and see how it goes. And realizing there was a lot of people asking to join my community that weren't necessarily my students, and yet they had so many questions. I just recognized just the other day, I pulled up YouTube, and one of my earliest videos popped up from 5 years ago, and it was what to expect after your Reiki level 1 attunement. It's our most popular YouTube video with over 20,000 views on it. And it's because people have questions and I was available to answer them in that time and space when other people weren't available to do that. And so recognizing that really was the start of how do we make ourselves available through connection and utilizing whatever tools were available for that connection. And at that time, it was Facebook. You know, we have TikTok and Instagram, and I'll have all of these different social media platforms that people are on, which is fantastic. But if you really rewind the wheel to 8 years ago, the main space was Facebook. And I completely embraced that, knowing that my ideal clients and students were that age range, and those were my people. And I'm just so proud of us because Reiki Cafe Community, our Facebook group now, is over 4,000 people. And typically in Facebook spaces, you see trolls, you see negativity, you see these things that happen that pull the energy down within a group. And we don't have that at Reiki Cafe Community at all. We don't even need to monitor the level in which people are coming in at, because the negativity isn't there. There's such a strong energetic presence of this is a safe space and we're going to support one another, that I recognize that when I go into other communities and other spaces online, I'm like, wow, my group is different. And I just want to honor that and say thank you so much for all of those who are listening, who have been in the Facebook group, because you contribute to that. You contribute to the energy of what Reiki Cafe is and has always been. And so I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for being a part of it. And I just love that there's been so much that has happened over the last 8 years, and knowing that this is a beautiful time. And I never did actualize the cafe, but what we're doing in the Reiki Cafe community on Facebook is always what the vision was: to have a safe space to network, connect, collaborate, share stories, and support one another. And so for me, that's a big check mark off the list of like, yeah, we did it. We did that in the Reiki space, unlike any other Reiki group online.
Love it. It really is just tapping into the energy of how positive our community really is. And I agree with you with if I go into other communities, there is a lot of negative people out there, and our community is just so supportive, and we don't have to monitor. We don't have to go in and delete people or have to check it or anything. It's just this energy is so, the foundation of it is so strong that you can express our needs, and we can ask for help and support, and hey, what do you do here or do there? And we're able to see people come together and to communicate and support each other. And I love watching that in the community, that it doesn't always have to be us that's putting it out there, but the community is stepping forward too, to say, I want to, do an in-person event, or I want to do this, or can we send Reiki to this person or that? And people show up for that, and they're excited to do it. And so in a lot of other communities, you do see this back and forth struggle, and it's like, oh, I'm very proud to say that we do not have that. And I love your vision for the cafe. And, maybe someday in the future when, you're an older woman and you're like, I just want to kick back with coffee and Reiki, and that might bring a different vision in the future. But for now, I think you completely succeeded at what your vision was. I'm
Thank
just
you.
honored to have been a part of it.
Absolutely. And I think that's the beautiful part, is that we opened our hearts to so many people in this space. And the questions that have come through, we often talk about the Reiki orphans in the world. And we see that there have been students who either were trained online and never had a really good positive connection with their teacher, or that their teachers moved away, or they weren't, involved, and they needed a safe place to come to ask their questions and to continue their support. It wasn't really necessarily education. Like, yeah, we did a lot of education with the podcast, and the podcast was launched three years ago, a little over 3 years ago, and I knew that was something that needed to come through as well. I remember, and at the beginning of 2021, and I was like, Isabel, this is the year. We have to start the podcast. We just have to do it. I can't not have a podcast. It is exactly what I want. And it's not that I was a podcaster in the sense of like, I don't binge listen to podcasts. It is something that I knew I wanted to make long form content, webinars, podcasts, something that was longer than little clips, little small. I didn't want to do reels. And it has been phenomenal. It's been a phenomenal progression of what Reiki Cafe community is, because it really gave us a platform to teach, to inspire, to support in a way we hadn't done before. And so there's always been workshops and webinars and Reiki circles and Q&A calls. Like, they have been sprinkled in and out through over the years. But when the podcast came about, I really noticed that there was an energetic shift. There was more people coming in to participate with Reiki Cafe Community, our Facebook group. There was more engagement. There was more messages and emails saying, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I was looking for. And I love that. I'm so happy that we have been able to touch now hundreds of thousands of lives. It just made that availability expand to a capacity I didn't even know was possible. And so we're moving from touching hundreds of thousands of lives to beyond. And what is that going to look like as we move forward?
And I think that's something that with Reiki Cafe University as a whole, looking at that whole trajectory and that path that it went through in the decade that it held space for so many Reiki practitioners, something that really stands out to me and something I've always loved about being part of it is it's so divinely guided and divinely inspired, in that whenever we needed something, it showed up. When we weren't sure what the next step was, the idea always came. And it was, through this process of, I mean, people ask all the time how Christine and I met. And it was completely based off intuition. One day I had been working a job I didn't like. I quit. I saw her name pop up on Facebook. I wasn't even part of the Facebook group. I'd never been to one of her webinars. I had just started Reiki. And my intuition was like, you got to message her, you got to ask. And so I reached out to ask if she needed help with social media, of all things, was what I asked you. And a week before, she had sent a message out to the universe that, if we want it to go online, if this is the path that we're going to take, I need a person. I need the person that's going to help me with this process. And I didn't know that, right? She didn't know at the time. She thought she was just bringing on someone for social media. And yet, neither of us knew. Neither of us had a mental plan for what that was going to look like. And it's just unfolded. And then when it got to that point where we were like, we have so many students and so much information to share and so much inspiration and space to hold. And we need another person that's going to complement all of these things and help us to hold space and help us to build the company. And then there was Chantel, and Chantel came through all of our courses, and we got to watch, and I think that for me has been one of my favorite things, is we got to watch her evolve from that very first time that we met you on a welcome call, and I did your welcome call, I think, and then, 2 years later, you're one of our professors, soon to be the mystic for our shamanic institute, and just that evolution of when we needed something, instead of trying or pulling it in or planning it out, we just let go. We just trusted that it was gonna show up, and it has always happened so much more magically and beautifully and in such an aligned way that we could never have imagined it happening that way, and I think that aligns with its transition of coming to a close as well. Of this isn't something that prior to, November of last year, we had no plans to transition Reiki Cafe University. And yet that divine inspiration has just come through and come through and come through. And I think that for me is one of the reasons, like Chantel said, that I've been so honored to be part of this, because it is such a testament to what can happen when you really let go and let the divine lead. And that's been such a beautiful thing to witness and be part of.
Yes, that part right there, when we are led and we're guided instead of forcing it, when you go with the flow of it, and with my story on it is I wasn't a Reiki orphan, but I definitely was seeking a higher or different level of education. And I remember going and asking about, I was having third eye pressure, and I asked about it, and the answer I received, I was like, no, that doesn't resonate. And then she showed up on Facebook, and it was you and Bruce, and you were answering all the questions I had. And I was like, oh my gosh, who is this? And why does she know all the things I'm going through? And it was exactly what I needed in the moment. And then I reached out to her, and so we started talking. And that was the very first time the SRPT program was being put out. And I didn't do that when I jumped into the next one. And that was 3 years ago last month. And so
Yeah,
it's like so much transformation in life and growth between us and the business and individually. And it's just amazing. And how fast, yet so packed, the last 3 years has been.
absolutely. It
So
feels
packed,
like,
but
yeah, it
quick.
feels like it just moved. It just
Yeah.
moved very quickly. And I love that you brought up Bruce, because he's been the only other Reiki Cafe University quote unquote professor that we've had. And so he's now been a guest numerous times on the podcast. And he definitely holds a special place in my heart, because he knows Usui Reiki Rojo like no other practitioner that I've had experience with. And so we made a really beautiful team while it lasted. And I still highly encourage his Reiki pilgrimage and connecting with him and working with him from on a Reiki level. And I I totally feel that every person that has come into the space for Reiki Cafe and teaching, whether it's Isabel or Chantel or Bruce, that they were standing so much in their light and shining their truth. And I'm so honored to have given each of them a platform to do that, because it's not all about me. Like I think there's some companies out there that really need, quote unquote, the owner of the business to be front and center. And for a while, I feel like we just kind of try to match what other spiritual companies were doing. So like maybe I was the front, and I'm the, quote unquote, president or founder or CEO or whatever. And I think that is part of our growth and stretching out of what we were and into something new, because I say it all the time, like, let's not give our power to our guru. Let's not give our power away to someone else. And here, through Reiki Cafe, trying to follow the mold of other practices, it was happening that way unintentionally, where I was kind of put up on a pedestal, and I don't want that. Like I'm very much like, I feel like everyone is their own shining light, and my job is to help you recognize your own light within, knowing that you have all the answers within and that it's not coming from me. And with Chantel and Isabel, we've been able to create this dynamic where one of us is not better than the other. It's very much that we each have our own light and our own skills and our own offerings of support that look a little different. And therefore, we don't need one of us to stand and shine first. We can be a triad of support. And it's just shining a light on your light so that you can unveil your true self.
And I think that's been such a big part of what this transformation is becoming. And part of what was so beautiful about Reiki Cafe, I think at the time, I remember part of our original branding was we were really vocal about like the age of Aquarius, right? And pushing the mold and stepping out and being a little bit not rebellious, but that kind of like self-sourced fire break out of the mold. And that was a big, big thing, especially when we first came online. And I've loved witnessing that fade in a way because I think it came up exactly when it needed to. We came, especially when we came online, it was at a time when Reiki practitioners really did need answers and they really needed that solar plexus fire. And we needed permission to be able to step out of the mold and break the box and release our limiting beliefs and really just bring awareness to the fact that there was a box in the first place, right? I think that was a huge part of Reiki Cafe University's message and mission was to show those places and spaces where we were holding ourselves back. And it started as the places and spaces we were holding ourselves back in our Reiki practice. And it has transformed into every space that we hold ourselves back in our energy and in our personal life and in ourselves. And that transition led the way so that we've created a community where people are aware of what they're ready to release. They're aware of their own power. They're curious about what comes next. And I think that that transformation that Reiki Cafe led people on has really set the stage for what comes next with Moon Rising Shamanic Institute, of this place where we have that foundation of we're ready to step out of the box. We know that we don't have to hold ourselves back. And that's where we're starting from. Whereas I think Reiki Cafe was really that process of putting that foundation down and setting that thought process into motion so that people had that awareness and had that strand in their energy that was activated so that they even knew that it was a potential to break out of the mold and not do it the way everybody else does it. And that's such a beautiful thing. And I think it's going to be so important for our next steps because we've cultivated a community and people have found us when they're ready for that self-sourced wisdom that pulls them out of what they quote unquote should be doing into what could you be doing? What do you want to be doing? What's your passion and purpose in this life? And how can we work with that to bring you into that alignment? And I don't think any of that would have been possible if we hadn't had that growing phase for the last 10 years.
Absolutely. And I think that is so true. I think as I stepped into the online space, it was really important for me to show people that they didn't need to do it the way their Reiki masters did it, or that a certain lineage did it, that our biggest power and strength comes from our intuition and our true inner knowingness versus from an external source. And watching students wake up to, you mean I don't need to use that manual, or I don't need to step into that path, like I can do it my own way, as well as long as it's in integrity and honoring the history. And there's still pieces there, but to not to kind of be able to do it for yourself, and I think that was so important for me, to allow people to see their own strength and wisdom from within, and not having to follow a super structure of like, this is what it has to look like, and letting us be healers without turning it into like a multi-level marketing company feel, which I definitely recognize now that so much of Reiki is all about like creating more practitioners instead of Reiki providing a platform for self-healing. And that still and always has been and always will be how I see Reiki. It is a platform for self-healing. And if we can heal ourselves, then we'll heal the world. It's not about putting more practitioners out in the world and making money. That's a path, but it's not the only path. And so I really felt strong to give people permission to do the self-healing work. And knowing in the spaces and places online, there wasn't that emphasis, like the Reiki level 1-2 combo class. Like it still makes me upset. It still makes me upset going, why are we doing it this way? And I don't feel bad about that. Like I have been outspoken online. It gave me a space to really, I don't want to like push people and the fact that like, why are you doing what you're doing? Like making them question, why are you practicing the way you practice? Is this in alignment with your true authenticity, or is it because someone else has told you to do it that way? So if you want to mix modalities and mix Reikis and crystals, or mix massage and Reiki, or mix coaching and Reiki, or whatever it is, I was probably one of the few practitioners in the online space going, yeah, let's do it. Let's mix it. And say that you're mixing it, but why not? If this is what's going to help you step into your authentic truth and self to support others, then do it. Absolutely do it.
And I think
Yeah.
something.
I want to congratulate that, because I think that is one of our biggest foundations. It's the pillar of who we are and what we do teach here, and to remind people to be authentic to themselves and to follow their intuition, and what their business looks like is unique to them, with the foundation of Reiki and with those, points that have traveled through time. But knowing we are in a different time in our history, and we do need to show up as ourselves and to be authentic to that and to do that personal healing. And what you're saying with the combo and all that, the classes and everything, and just thinking of so many people that, yeah, they want to go and have all of these practitioners, but then there's no foundation for healing. So then there's all these unhealed practitioners out there. And I just think that as we are advancing and growing, and our voice is going to become louder and more seen and more like heard and everything, this I think is going to become a mainstream way of looking at Reiki and healing and being practitioners, is to do that internal work first. Because when we talk like that, I hosted New Moon last night, and I was talking about soul rising and, different things and everything. And I just was in awe of how they're like, well, we want to do this healing. And it's like, yes, let's do this. Let's step forward. Like, let's start a group where just in my community, of opening up this conversation of healing. And it was just amazing, because I think we're really at the beginning of that. We're seeing more of it, but I think mainstream wise, we are at this beginning level of people learning that I can heal me, and I just need a teacher to step in, or a mentor to step in, a coach to step in, that's going to help guide me and give me the tools that I need, but everything is within myself to utilize them and to grow.
And I think that's something I was just having a conversation the other day with my fiance, and we were talking about that idea of worth and deservingness when it comes to self-healing. And that's something that I think Reiki Cafe University did a really beautiful job of. And it's something that I think if you go back and listen to our podcast, it's a theme of this idea of giving people permission to do what they truly want to do, to be who they truly want to be. Because I think, like Chantel said, we all have that deep yearning to do the healing work, to go into ourselves and get curious about what is that thing that needs healed? Do I have to be stuck in this emotion, or is there a different way? We all have that intuitive voice that's constantly calling to us to step out, to do things differently, to come back home to ourselves. And I think that overall, we live in a culture and in a society that doesn't encourage that. It doesn't encourage us to find ourselves. It doesn't encourage us to think that we're enough or that we're worthy to do that kind of work. And that was something that I think Reiki Cafe University did really beautifully, was allow people to understand not only are you worthy, not only are you capable, and not only is it possible for you to heal and to live the life of your dreams, right? That was our Reiki tagline for the entirety of the business, was bringing your Reiki dreams into reality. That was at the heart of it. That was our mission, was allowing people to understand that you can do this. This is a possibility. This healing is available to you. It's not just a select few that get to do this. You can do this, and giving people that permission to be exactly who they are, to feel what they're feeling, and to know that you can continue to evolve, to acknowledge your limiting beliefs and what's holding you back and what happened in your childhood that was difficult, and know that you can heal from that. Know that you can change those thought patterns. Know that you can alter your subconscious mind, knowing that. And of course, at the time, we used it through that lens of Reiki, but knowing that Reiki isn't just a surface healing modality, it's an invitation to go deeper into yourself and to know that you're capable of doing that work and having a safe and sacred space to do that work so that you don't feel like you're alone. And I think that entire spectrum of experiences that goes into allowing someone to even feel comfortable to do that healing work, it's not common in today's day and age. And I think it's something that we did a really beautiful job of cultivating and creating so that now people do have that sacred space, and they know that when they step into a room or a Facebook group or a YouTube video or a podcast with our team, that they're in a space where they are accepted for exactly who they are, where they are witnessed and acknowledged as someone who is powerful and capable and able to do this work and worthy of doing it and living the life of their dreams. And I think that's a gift that we get so rarely in today's day and age. I don't think that's something that's readily available in a lot of places and spaces. And it has been so amazing and such an honor to be part of one of the few where you really step into that space and it's just so obvious that this is a space for true healing, not just surface level healing, not just we'll just skim off the top and call it good, not we'll spiritual bypass over some stuff, but true deep healing so that you can find out who you truly are and what you want and what your soul is calling you to do in each and every moment.
And I think that Reiki Cafe really was a reflection of my own personal healing as it grew and developed. So, and I can see it because when I first began, I could recognize that I was still struggling with the narcissistic ex, the abusive behaviors and patterns, learning how to set boundaries. And that's what I spoke about. Like our beginning audience online was wanting that story. They wanted it to watch me heal myself through stepping into my own power, into my own clarity, into my own vision of who I wanted to become. And they needed that possibility portal for moving out of unhealthy relationships. And so that was like a phase of Reiki Cafe. Like I just remember so many of the people in our group had come from abusive partners or emotional abuse in some capacity, because that's what I was speaking to. And then it transitioned into something else, into something else, into something else. And as Isabel came on and Chantel came on, their stories added to the mix and reflected their healing journeys, right? So it has been very dynamic of what we speak to. How do we heal from abusive past partners? How do we step into our authentic selves and truth? What does that look like? How do we get rid of these guru ideals and models and putting people on pedestals and see that you're the number one? Your energy when it is healed can shine a light so much farther than if it was done through the lens of a guru and someone else and giving someone else's power. And so like we've been in this transformation of how can we help support the Reiki community? And in that supporting of the Reiki community, I was told from the very beginning, like, Reiki is too niche down. Don't niche it down this far. And I'm like, that is my audience. That is who I want to help. That's who I want to wake up. That's what I'm working with. And it was so clear to me that that was who I wanted to support. And being a practitioner since 2002, it's been such a part of my life that I saw Reiki practitioners and their struggle, whether it was in their personal healing, whether it was in their business, wherever they were. That's what I was recognizing, who I wanted to support and help. And as we grew and as our personal lives changed, we could recognize that we could help so many more people when we could step into our authentic selves, because Reiki eventually became about 10% of what we were doing. And that's where we're at now. Like, Reiki is a beautiful foundation, but we do so much more than Reiki here at Reiki Cafe Community, which is why I knew it was time to transform. It was time to let go of the old paradigm and step into something completely new.
Mm-hmm. And I think that I remember when you guys came, when we talked and the discussion of changing it, and I was already receiving the downloads and messages on my own. And then when you came to, I was like, oh, we are all just synchronistically, energetically being prepared for that shift. And it is because I believe that we do so much more. And Reiki is always, for me, the foundation of everything, but there's so much more to grow from that. And in doing our personal healing work and showing up in our stories and being authentic and being open books of like, this is where we are, this is what we're healing through, each of us going through our own healing process physically with autoimmunes and healing through that, or if it's grief of our childhood or whatever it's been, we're there to share it. And then we're real people, and people are connecting to us because we are real people, and they can see their struggle in us, and we're mirroring each other. So if we can heal, they can heal. And not because we're saying we're the guru, it's because they can see themselves in us, and that we are those possibility portals to say, I can do it. This is a human, like, as people, we can do this. And I just think that collectively to get that message out is so powerful, and to have the voice and to be a part of that is so empowering, because it's just us saying, hey, you can heal yourself, and that's going to heal the world. And it's just, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. And I love that, because it really was this collective. I mean, like we were saying earlier, everything about Reiki Cafe University has always been so divinely guided. Of when we needed the answer, it came. And I keep seeing this. I know Christine loves the metaphor of a snake shedding its skin. And for me, it's that caterpillar going through that metamorphosis into a butterfly, and knowing that for the past year, we'd been in this place of asking that question of what comes next. We're constantly searching and seeking for what's going to serve our community, what's going to serve our students, what's, like Christine said, reflecting what we've gained from our own personal healing. And we all started having those inspirations and those downloads and those thoughts about what if it was this instead? What if it's time to expand and really bring in these things that the three of us had started leaning into in our personal lives of finding that emphasis in shamanic healing and getting really interested in how we heal those subconscious patterns and limiting beliefs and stepping into the more mystical, metaphysical conversations that go deeper than just typical spiritual conversations. And the ability to have all of these ideas and these thoughts and notice how they're playing out in our own lives and in our personal healing, and then to be able to come together and realize, oh, there's our answer, right? We all had different pieces of that puzzle. And when we came together and we had those conversations, it was so clear that Reiki Cafe was ready to transition, that it was ready to transform, that it had completed its purpose and its cycle, and that it had given us exactly what we needed to be able to transform into something new and bring forward everything we'd gained from our own personal healing and all of the inspiration that we had from our teachings, and bring in all of that inspiration and use not only Reiki but Reiki Cafe as that foundation to be able to step into an entirely new way of interacting with spirit, of interacting with the divine, and of interacting with ourselves in such an expansive and empowering way is so amazing. Because the way that I feel the energy right now is, it's like there were all these pieces that we had in Reiki Cafe. We had the Reiki and the coaching and the shamanism and the chakras and the psychology and all of it. And they were these pieces and they were beautiful. And all of a sudden, with this new transformation, with this transition, all of those pieces have become a whole. It's just an experience, it's its own energy, and they've all connected and become this one space and this one energy. And I think that's really incredible to witness. And we're all three so excited to be able to bring that forward and to step into that energy.
Definitely feels like it was all divinely planned, all of it. Like, I definitely feel that all of Reiki Cafe has been a preparation for where we are today. I absolutely feel that there is divine timing, that there has been divine collaboration, that we have always been loved and supported by our spirit teams, and recognizing that Reiki Cafe is in that metamorphosis, and going back to that symbology of the caterpillar turning into the butterfly. Well, Reiki Cafe's logo was the rainbow. There was a reason why I chose the rainbow. That was even before Isabel came on. I'm sure she would have probably tried to talk me out of something to do something more clever than that. But at the time, it was very much like, we're moving from the storm and into the light. That was the purpose of the rainbow. Like, how do we move from our internal storms, our external storms, so that we can fully embrace our light and ride that rainbow into healing? And I absolutely feel that anyone who's been a part of Reiki Cafe over the last many years has felt that. And we've had such beautiful students, and witnessing their transformation, witnessing their growth has been such an honor. And we wouldn't be where we are today without the support of our community and our courses. So our courses really were a shift. I went from fully in person, and then in 2019, I received the message to prepare myself to go online. And so I did. I was starting to prepare to teach online, and got more involved with Reiki Cafe community, the Facebook group. And when the pandemic hit, I was prepared. I was one of the few fortunate ones that I feel like Spirit had prepared me to get the website together, to start looking at how to put courses together. And so that summer of 2020, we did our first online program called Chakra Mastermind. And it was something that I was like, okay, it's a 3-month program. We're going to take 2 weeks per chakra. And it was great. And it was just so natural and off the cuff, because none of it was pre-recorded. It was like, I'm going to show up with students and I'm going to share them my wisdom and I'm going to charge like $1,000 per student and we're just going to see what happens. It was just like, this is what Spirit's leading me to do. Let's dive in. Let's see what happens. And so we did our first 3-month program, and it was like proof that I needed that I was on the right track. And so at the time of teaching that, not only was I going through some significant health issues with my previous autoimmune, let's put that in the past, and getting prepared for what was to come. And so when I did that, I also had just joined a year-long coaching program. And so this is also very common as we continue to do our self-healing work, as we continue to grow, as we continue to take more courses and trainings. All of us are in more courses and trainings to elevate ourselves into our fullest potential. I was in that phase myself while I was starting to teach online. And I remember having a mentor. Her name is Vicky, and I absolutely love her. And she was like, Christine, why are you holding yourself back? Like, do 7 chakras over 7 months. You have more to teach. You have so much to teach. Just teach it online. And it was in the winter of 2021, the very beginning of 2021, that I launched our first 7-month program called Chakra Clairvoyant Coaching and Certification. And it was a mix of shamanic Reiki, chakras, and coaching. And there was so much content that there was no way that it could fit into 7 months. And so I think we only taught that once or twice, that 7-month program, before we really needed to split it up. So then it became shamanic Reiki, and then it became Reiki coaching, and they became 2 separate courses. And just to witness like that separation. And so it's always about constant growth and seeing what our clients need. It's meeting where our students are at, and always in the way of self-improvement, the way of improving our courses and improving our connection with our students. And so every single course we've ever done, there's always been, please give us feedback, fill out this assessment. There's always been these check-ins along the way with our students going, are we meeting your needs? Are we meeting your needs? Are we meeting your needs? How is this landing for you? And with that, we've always been able to tweak things better and better and better. And I feel like we've done our homework. I feel like we did all of this market research, if you will, from the business perspective, to say, now we're stepping into Moon Rising Shamanic Institute. And that means that we are going to have this level of content and education and beauty and clarity of what we're teaching. And if you take all of the Moon Rising courses, it will last a year or more. And it's set up in a way that's been based off of all of the learnings and feedback that we got through ReikiCafe University. And so for that, I'm grateful for all of our students who gave feedback, and knowing that we saw time and time again of people releasing debt, of stepping into their power and creating businesses and doing massive self-healing work, so that the limiting beliefs that they once had were released, of going from a full-on fear state and being triggered all the time to being in a place of peace, calm, and serenity. Like really doing an overhaul for people's nervous systems. And I'm just so proud of the work that all of our students have done, and all of the team that we have here at ReikiCafe, the work that we've done to be able to hold that space and to continue to hold that space for our students and clients.
And I think, like Christine said, it's just such a beautiful progression. And there's so much gratitude, and it's been really humbling to be able to walk through this process of transformation, especially for the past 6 months when we made that decision that ReikiCafe was going to transition and we were going to become something new. That process of acknowledging everything that's come for us, the past several years, and all of the learning and all of the inspiration and all of these moments where we realized we could improve or that we could expand and we could stop holding ourselves back and we could step into our authentic truth and we could listen to the divine, and all of these places and spaces where we've inspired each other, but where the community has inspired us and where our students have inspired us. And I can't tell you how many times we've gotten chills or teared up at something one of our community members or our students has said, or a time when we, have to stop and we have to stop a class and we just have to take a moment to appreciate the healing that's happening in that space. And it's such an honor to have been able to see all of those pieces coming together so that now as we transition into Moon Rising Shamanic Institute, all of those pieces have fallen into place and we have this unified, beautiful, magnificent, aligned whole to be able to present to people and to be able to hold that sacred space and to know, like we know, to steal Christine's phrase, that it's exactly what it's meant to be. And I think in a lot of ways, at least for me, Reiki Cafe University has really felt like a training ground of looking at what works, what doesn't work, what could we do better, what are we learning. It's been 10 years for Christine and varying number of years for Chantel and I of self-healing and self-discovery and growth and understanding and learning about the business and the company and the students and all of it to get to this point where now it feels like we're really stepping into, and this is what it was always meant to be. This is what it was always leading up to. And now we get to see what happens next.
Yes. And so
It's hard to contain the excitement, huh?
Absolutely. And I want to honor all of the comments that we've gotten while we're doing this live of testimonials that are coming in just while we're on this call. So Cindy England says, you've provided so much valuable information and support over the years, which has catapulted my practice to a whole new level. I'm immensely grateful. She also has put information in her new book that's going to be coming out about her transformational story through Reiki Cafe, which is amazing. So I can't wait to have her on the podcast and share her story because it's a good one. Nancy says, I have enjoyed the safe and sacred place of grace I was part of and meeting friends for a season and reason. Happy to say I'm friends with many of you today, as well as that she says, I have experienced for myself and witnessed major shifts in others during this ride. And then having Christine and Isabel as my 5th and 6th Reiki master has been icing on the cake. I've learned so much and have evolved into a strong, creative leading light. Thank you, Isabel, for leading me to that light and to that name. Evolving is the name of the game, and I congratulate you for being true to yourselves to move forward. And that was a big one. I feel like over the last 6 months, there's been times where Isabel has had to bring me on a coaching call and be like, there's a reason why you downloaded all of this. And that story will come on the Lion's Gate here in 3 days. But here's a little snippet is it all came through really fast. And they knew that it was time to really shift the foundation and melt away Reiki Cafe so that we could rise from the ashes like the phoenix into what our true identity and to our true authentic selves will be. And over the last 6 months, it scared the crap out of me, because when you are in that energy of I'm open and available for divine guidance to come in, and the thing that they're telling you to come is that thing that you've been working on for 10 years, it's time to let it go. That's scary. That is so scary. And to go, what if people don't like it? What if people judge me? What if people leave me because I'm doing this? And, there's been some moments of just feeling that limiting belief show up, of that wounded witch energy of like, I'm going to be rejected by this. And all we have gotten is so much love and support from our community as we transition, because what is to come is so much stronger and has such a greater capacity to do the bigger healing work than it has been before. And so I know myself, transitions can be scary, they can be hard, and yet they are so incredibly worth it. And I cannot wait to see what is to come and how we are going to hold a space in moon rising for all of you to heal and see your light and shine even brighter.
And so, as we bring our final coffee conversation for Reiki Cafe University to a close, I know we all want to just once again thank you all for the honor and privilege of your time and of your presence, for being such a supportive and vital part of Reiki Cafe University's journey, and the journey that we have all been on together as our energy has connected and shifted and evolved into what it is today. And so we just want to thank you for showing up, for doing the work, for joining us and listening, sharing your voices and your thoughts, and know that this isn't an ending. This is just, to sound a little cliche, a beginning of something that is so much more strong and beautiful and aligned and sacred than what we've had up to this point. And we are so excited and honored to be able to get to share that with you. So if you want to be with us and witness this transition, we invite you to join us on Thursday, August 8th at 5 p.m. Mountain Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for our Lionsgate portal ceremony and the opening celebration for Moonrising Shamanic Institute.
Thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to step on this new journey, this new path with all of you.
100%. Thank you, everyone.